Alrighty, greetings and salutations, Territorial fans. I am joined with the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Peacemaker. What's going on, mate? How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well today and the last 2 months, honestly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I just wanted to bring you here on the Jelly Bean Jar podcast and wanted to open up the question, where do you think Territorial is today? I hear that Union is starting to pivot away from its beloved main game.
We've already pivoted, and that's reflected on the leaderboard because you know that we
Mhm,
held like top three, or at least setting Corgi aside, big streamer guild aside, we held top three for a
mhm.
minimum of 6 to 8 straight months. We hit number one once. We hit number one Corgi aside for more than 4 straight days, and that was actually right before the new wave of mass botting on a level that we've never seen
Oh my
before really
gosh,
started
yes.
to wreck contests and the whole rest of the game. And so for a lot of us, a lot of our senior leadership, we've been in Territorial for a year, in some cases, a year and a half.
Mhm.
And as much fun as the game is, most people get a little bit tired of doing the same thing for thousands and thousands of iterations. And that's really what we have done. We have played thousands of games. We have
Oh
won
yeah.
thousands of games. And with no substantial updates and only two map updates during the whole time I've played, the game has just become irredeemably stale for a lot of us.
Mhm.
And more than that, the amount of cheating that's gone on and just the complete lack of accountability for any cheaters when the remedy would be quite simple is just the last straw. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. And so, starting in August, Union started to look around and try to find another activity that we could really come together on as a community and continue to demonstrate the full capacity of our teamwork, our collaboration, our energy, our drive. And we've managed to do exactly that.
So, has it helped to pivot away from Territorial just as a community as to where you're seeing more involvement of members where in latter days there was a lot of burnout?
Definitely. We've had people that had been away for 6 months, in some cases 12 months, and come back to engage with our
Mhm.
community again. And there were, I want to acknowledge, a couple of key faces that a bit disappointed by the shift, and some of them just kind of dipped out of Territorial altogether. A couple of them ended up, I believe, in Wrath. But
Mm.
by and large, like 90% of our active players, the people that were still playing in June, July, August, 90%
Mhm.
of them are on Minecraft now. And we're having a great time because this game has so much more to it, obviously, than Territorial. And the creator of the server that we're on, which is called Rulercraft, actually cares about his server. He's actually on regularly, and he really takes feedback from the community into
Mm.
consideration and implements them as best as able into his server. So it's like night and day difference with Territorial, where we saw David do absolutely nothing for 2 years. He even
Mm.
took away maps that the community loved, good maps in the Americas and
Right.
Southeast Asia that I never even got to play on, and I've been around in this game longer than almost anybody. Uh,
Mhm.
like that's how long it's been since we've really seen updates. So I'd say without this pivot, Union as a community would basically be dead. And you see that with Void having to merge into Wrath. You see that with other long time
Mhm.
heavyweight guilds just dissolving, merging. I mean, we saw 4 mergers
Oh
in
yeah.
a week, and so I think that that's a sign that communities are having to huddle together, or they're having to find something new to do. And we chose to find a new activity.
And then that's kind of a similar theme that you see with the Yoru coalition, where a lot of those individuals had a great start The first couple of weeks, it was kind of like the new fad. It was the new clan. And then once the grinders started getting burned out and everybody had school obligations and then exams started coming along, then everybody started to fade back away. And then now the community has almost nearly pivoted away from Territorial. And so it speaks to kind of the point that I was told previously is that the game has kind of fizzled, is that there's not a whole lot of variety, and you hit this, is that even the map selection, it gets dull very quickly.
I mean, the
Mhm,
maps probably are the point that irritate me the most because
mhm,
the community, again, David has to do so little. The community has done so much for him. I wouldn't have even been able to stick around in Territorial through more than half of 2023 if it weren't for better Territorial interface, because the original interface is just trash relative to the new thing, and that was not developed by David. That was
mhm,
developed by the community, just like all of the community and server infrastructure on Discord that exists, because there's no texting in game. It's literally just emojis. All of that
mhm,
has been built by the community. All of the news reporting outlets like yours and TTV and all the rest, that's done by the community. And the maps, people in the game that really care about the game have made hundreds of maps. And all David would have had to do is just slap a couple of them into his cycle. And he has not. All he does is fiddle around with Elo for single player mode, and then occasionally change, what was it? He changed emoji to select your emoji. Like that's what we get after 2 years with this guy. Is he even has people lining up to do the work for him, and he won't even accept the
mhm.
support. It's like he's determined to keep this game as stale as possible.
Yeah, and it speaks to kind of how just the interplay of the community and the backlash and distrust that he has. I This is an assumption. However, it's of my opinion that he's kind of turtle shelled just because of the poor situation of the admin hacking that was done at the original community Discord server. And then thankfully, Hokoria and a lot of the other involved individuals of our community literally saved the community server. They launched a whole new interface and server that has the news networks, has a lot of the content creators for Territorial in various capacities all in one place. And it's a one stop shop as the original Discord should have been. And to your point, without Discord, Territorial would not have survived. You would not see just the intricacies of the clan development and organization because standalone and the original website is not what it could be and not what it should be. Any final thoughts that you had, Peacemaker, before we go back to playing other games besides Territorial?
Exactly. So I would just say that I think the communities that are still on Territorial
Mm.
needs to, think about the situation and face the facts that this creator has shown time and time again, all despite all the hope we had, despite all the trust we had, despite all the support we've offered, this creator has shown that he does not give.
A darn.
And I think it's so perfect and fitting that the one game he was working on, which I will say it, cheap Agario ripoff. Cry about it, David. It's a cheap Agario ripoff. Territorial is something fresh and good. The thing he was working on was called it was called Vanio or In Vanio, which is a perfect name because all of his efforts on that are literally in vain. They are completely wasted making some cheap garbage copy of a game that people are not trying to flock to, rather than taking 10% of the effort to just keep this game alive, because
Mhm.
this game pays his bills. This game has a huge community. This game has a huge amount of support from all of the YouTube streamers like Corgi that have brought so much
Right.
attention to it. This has all of the players, all of the programmers, all of the bots, all of that energy and enthusiasm and branding built up. And I can tell you from the other games we've explored, so many people were like, oh, you guys play Territorial. I think I tried that one once. This game has so much potential to continue growing into the future. And I've never watched anybody just
P.
all over their own creation as blatantly and tactlessly as this guy has. And so I'm very glad to no longer be on Territorial. And I want to say that it's not just David's fault. I want to say that lots of the blame lies with the community server for having taken no serious action when some of the major guilds were cheating, and I want to say specifically OG. And lots of the blame also lies with Solo and OG because back in August, what happened was we had like 50 plus bots just joining every game, especially when contest with other groups' tags. And what that does is that ruins the game, not just for that guild, but it ruins it for each and every single player using those matches. And that was actively encouraged, and it's proven by screenshot after screenshot. It was actively encouraged from the very top of their leadership. So we saw guilds like OG actively encouraging all kinds of foul play that drove more and more and more people away from the game. And it brings me a lot of joy to see their guild starting to slide off of the leaderboard and activity now. And I've heard that others are now picking up those same cheap tactics from OG and carrying that into the new
Yeah.
meta of the game where nobody seems to be playing with skill or based on like a sizable active voice call, but just based on cheap tricks and bots and other nasty mechanics like that. So I've got to say that the community itself really failed. People who should have demonstrated better leadership in terms of sanctioning cheaters failed. Guilds had leadership that was willing to sell out everything that they used to stand for just for a cheap attempt at saving their position on the leaderboard, which they failed to do because we passed them for days and days before the cheating just made us throw our hands in the air. And so I hope that the people who are responsible for ruining this game don't touch anything that we're all moving on to. That everybody who is done with this circus is able to move on to something better, something more fun, whether it's chess, Conflict of Nations, Minecraft, like we do in Union, or whether it's Brawl Stars or Trackmania, like they do in Yoru. I just hope that everybody's able to find something that they get joy from playing and that they're able to find a friendly, non toxic, non cheating group of people to do it with. And I think that that cannot be found on Territorial anymore. And I would encourage people to really look at options. And I will say Union's a great option if you're looking to try things other than Territorial, because we bring the same energy, the same cooperation that we had there to every other activity. And you know that most players on the internet, most guilds don't have the kind of uh, cooperative skills that a lot of the elite territorial guilds have. And so when you take that kind of teamwork and trust and you bring it into another game environment, you're immediately a very dominant force. And so I just think everybody should be open to the prospects of change and just recognize that this situation is pretty much lost. So that's all. Uh, Thank you for having me on and for asking these questions.
Right. And very well said, Peacemaker. Thank you for your time. And boy, howdy, Territorial has built an amazing community. And it's sad to see the fragmentations of that community splintering off of each other. However, it's made one thing that I really love to see is it's provided a place of unity and togetherness that really I love Union and Yaru and across the board, a majority of our other communities that have had is that power of friendship and togetherness. So thank you for your time and be sure to like, subscribe. Peace. Let me know in comments where you think Territorial is today and if you have any discussion points that you would like to be added for the next edition.